I encourage you to find a way to take your passion and turn it into a profitable enterprise. It is so much more fun if you're running a business that you're super passionate about.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Tom Matzen. Previously, episode 690 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 11 months, 11 days, 17 hours, and 30 minutes since we last recorded our conversation.
Time, money, and influence are the three commodities for entrepreneurs. All the rest supports those three. And masterminds are an incredible way to leverage all three of those.
That was then. This is now. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing awesome, thanks. As we record this, it is my son's 13th birthday. So I'm officially an old man because now I have a teenage son.
That's wonderful. So we're speaking about Tyler Kennedy. It's the name you gave us when we last recorded, yeah?
Good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler is 13 going on 43. You know how kids are nowadays.
Oh, that's good because I remember you said he was 10, but he was like 9, but in the 39-year-old mind, yeah?
Yeah, that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed. In fact, I'm speaking to you on a brand new multi-screen high-end PC that he built for me from scratch. The last visit he was over, he's a few hours away now where he lives with his mom. And the last visit over, he built a computer from scratch for me. So we're on his state-of-the-art technology computer. So
It's amazing, right?
Gotta love kids, right? They embrace technology so much better than we do.
Well, I guess the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's not that I'm shy of technology. That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
so let's dig in that. Like, what's new in your world? Masterminds was definitely a hot topic when we spoke. What's going on today?
Yeah, that continues to be a big part of our business. We have focused all of our efforts, and this is actually probably a distinction from back then. For years, I've been helping entrepreneurs of all sizes, small, large, grow and scale their business. But now our focus is entirely on what we call authority entrepreneurs, helping them package their knowledge and wisdom and turning it into high-ticket programs that guarantee results. And so within the world of entrepreneurship, back then I called myself chief movement maker. I'm still chief movement maker, but I realized the movements I want to help people create are around taking their wisdom and knowledge and sharing it to the world. It's leveraged, it's super impactful. And there are, as you know, better than me, there are wise people all over the globe, right? I mean, tremendously insightful people. And part of how we can make a big difference in this world and frankly, clean up the mess that others have made before us is by sharing our wisdom and knowledge.
I've had a ton of individuals who I interviewed, and then we recently begun inviting others that were on the podcast to have a conversation to find out if they were really doing what they said they would continue to do. And it's intriguing to me that one of the topics that's been occurring, or one of the situations, is that they're moving to most impactful way of doing their business, less time that's required. Now, that's something like way back then, right? That was something you were focusing on.
For 20 some years, I've focused on that.
53 businesses, right?
Yeah. Well, now it's 82.
Wow.
So that hasn't stopped. And in fact, we're about to record a masterclass in 54 minutes where we'll probably launch another 10 joint ventures out of the masterclass. So by the time we talk again, it'll be over 100. I think that leverage, you're talking different forms of leverage when you're talking scale. Leverage and momentum are the two secret weapons for entrepreneurs. And the more entrepreneurs think about how to bring leverage, how to bring momentum to their life, the more fun they have, the more impact they make, and what a nice coincidence, the more income they make at the same time. So for me, it's definitely important in our business, our joint ventures, that we're constantly looking at leverage and momentum. And definitely scale is one of those things. It's really easy to grow a business that doesn't have scale until you're starting to succeed at it. And then it's extraordinarily tough to scale beyond that. So a lot of solopreneurs get stuck when they're starting to grow. They can't grow beyond themselves. Their business is entirely dependent on themselves. And if you have a business that's dependent on you, you're stuck. Even if
Agreed.
you're making a lot of money and having a lot of fun, at some point you're going to come to the realization, and it helps that I've got more gray hairs than the last time we talked, but at some point you're going to realize, you know what? Having to show up every single day to make impact is a silly model. I should find a way to make impact without having to show up every day. And I'm really glad to see that that's the case with a lot of people you're interviewing, because when that happens, my old mentor, Jay Abraham, said that if we have something of value to bring to the world, we have a moral obligation to reach as many people as possible. And I really believe that. I really believe it's a moral obligation. That's why I supported you back in the day, and I support you now, and I will continue to support you, because you are serving as many people as possible with the work you do.
Yeah.
And we all serve differently. We all have our way of contributing in the world, but not everyone pursues serving as many people as possible. And in my world, you want to have more life and more profit. And when you combine those, the only way to do that is if you're doing something that scales.
Yeah, time, money, influence. And to add to what you're saying as well, I mean, the 12-Minute Convos podcast has grown. There'll be 12-minute convos with Girl Guides, 12-minute convos with cement industry professionals. Of course, again, to do exactly what you're talking about, to not have just Angel be the person who's getting out there, right? Like, let's get other people out there. And as well, the joint ventures that have come from these conversations, just to back up what you're expressing of how important it is as an entrepreneur to grow, right?
Yeah.
It's important.
Well, and momentum is one of those things that for employees, it can be very different. But for an entrepreneur, if you're not moving forward with momentum, one of two things are happening. You're either stuck or you're going backwards. Going backwards actually isn't a bad thing for an entrepreneur, because we're resilient. We like to bounce back. And if we're great at what we do, we're like, oh, yeah, you think that's going to stop me, big guy? Watch. And we fight harder, and we're more creative sometimes when we're getting pushed back. What we totally hate is being stuck, right? If we're stuck and we're not going any direction, that's the worst for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Going backwards, we can overcome it. Going forwards, we love it.
Yeah.
Momentum. But when we're stuck, that's when it gets miserable. And so a big part of my journey in the last few years has been making sure that as we grow our team, that we put checks and balances in place so that if anyone's getting stuck, they're able to reach out, get help, and move beyond it. And that's, I talked about masterminds last time we talked. That remains the case. Masterminds, I believe, are the greatest force for good in business if they're done right. And we still run many. I'm still in many. I love it. It's a phenomenal way to do it because, think about it. If you're stuck and you got a bunch of your peers that can help you get unstuck, well, how long you're stuck shortens. Maybe you're stuck for a month and now it's a week, or maybe you're stuck for a week and now it's a day, or maybe you're stuck for a few hours and now it's a few minutes. But with help from your peers that care about you, you can get unstuck faster. And then get back into having fun.
Yeah. Where can people connect to find out more about everything that's going on? Those are interested in the mastermind.
The best way is just to Google my name, Tom, Matzen, tommatzen.com. That's got links to our business sites and our nonprofit. Since you and I talked last, we've now started a global nonprofit. It's called the Entrepreneur Empowerment Institute.
Wow.
Our goal is to reverse the failure rate of small business in the world.
Wow.
How's that for a bold goal?
I love it. Wow.
So even that is all linked there as well, too.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All right, my friend. All right. There's a part of you where you focused on taking walks. There's no way that someone who's operating the way you're operating in the physical cannot have a spiritual side. How's that growing?
When I was re-listening to our interview, that's one of the things I was flashing back. Now I tend to focus my time near the water, which is good because I got to walk to get to the water on this little island. And I find that the grounding for me is with the ocean in sight, which I'm sure you can relate to where you are.
Yes.
It's such an important part.
One of the conversations we've been opening up as well is the conversation of death. With everything that's going on, entrepreneurs that are building momentum, people that are going after their dreams, achieving goals. It's an important reality check, the possibility that we could die today or tomorrow. How do you handle that conversation?
Well, a really good question, because part of our obligation as entrepreneurs that have value to bring to the world is to create a legacy model that lives beyond. It's the reason we created the nonprofit foundation, the Entrepreneur Empowerment Institute. That foundation will live beyond my time on this earth and this dimension anyhow, because of a strategy. We chose to do that. And I think every entrepreneur should consider that. And whether it's your family or whether it's your business or whether it's a nonprofit, lots of ways to contribute, right? Find what excites you and what gets you all excited. We just did a big global summit of all about doing good and making money and had 96 speakers, 70 countries all across the globe. All the proceeds went to our nonprofit and another one we partnered with. I love doing stuff like that because that inspires other people to do similar things. Every entrepreneur should have a nonprofit foundation that runs in parallel with their for-profit business. It allows them to leverage, have more impact, more influence, and it's a natural transition so that you can plan that before you die. Because newsflash, after is probably too late. I'm just guessing.
2% plan and execute. That was something you said when we first spoke. Do you think that with all the work you're doing, that percentage has increased or decreased?
I now spend more time working on my business than in it than I ever have. And I'm so glad. That's mainly because I now have a chief operations officer who is awesome at systems and execution and follow through and way better than I am at it. So he's building teams and systems and processes in place. So by design, I now spend more time working on the business than in it. But I also know that for a lot of entrepreneurs, that's easier said than done, right? It's easy to say that. It's a lot more difficult to pull it off. But that's one of the reasons why we focus on selling wisdom and knowledge, because frankly, it's very high margin. And one of the nice things about high margin is there's leftover money that you can hire people. You don't have to do it all yourself. You know, there are people that run podcasts and do all the editing and all the show notes and all the graphics. And then there are people that outsource to companies who do all of that and they just do the awesome part, right? So you can do it either way. Both are good models. One has more freedom and more quality of life, though, for sure.
Love it. Tom, my friend, this is such of a grand opportunity to get in here, check in, hear that you're still doing what you set out to do in life, and more so that it's evolved and that it's growing tremendously. You're impacting other human beings. Thank you for that. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate your time and your energy and your passion. We've been preparing this new masterclass on people that don't have authority. How can you build a business around your passion and your joy? And if you happen to be listening in and you're not an established authority in your field or even an emerging authority, I encourage you to find a way to take your passion and turn it into a profitable enterprise. It is so much more fun if you're running a business that you're super passionate about.
Tom, again, a great pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.